Hey yo, welcome to 2020 Stoned Appetit. I want to give a shout out before we start this party to our sponsors for the new year, and that is Live Nation and Fillmore Denver. Without them, none of this would be possible. We're stoked to be on year 2 and season 2 with them. Before we get started, make sure everyone is following them on Instagram and on Facebook. That's at Fillmore Den, D-E-N, and at Live Nation CO. They are definitely worth it. They'll give you up-to-date info on all the shows that are going on, ticket giveaways, swag bags, and everything under the sun. And then also, don't be shy. Go over to livenation.com to get all of your ticket needs. For the next month or so, we have some killer shows. We got Rex Orange County. It's going to be a pretty sold-out show, so check for the secondary market. Then we got Trippy Red, we got Kygos, we got STP, and then we got a little bit of the Tyga later in the season. So be sure you're following along on Instagram and Facebook at Fillmore Den and at Live Nation CO. And for all your ticket needs, go over to www.livenation.com. Without further ado, let's get this party started. Zane, hit that music.
The suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Coloradians, and everyone that's smart enough to listen from the outside.
It's one of the most amazing plants we've ever discovered.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
Hey guys, one last thing before we start this episode. In 2020, we're going to be a little bit more active for content and things of that nature. What we could really do is we would really appreciate it. If y'all wouldn't mind, all iTunes users, would y'all go to iTunes, search for Stoned Appetit, and then give us a review. Preferably 5 stars, but whatever you think we're worthy of. We know our audio sucks. We record on location. Our editing is never done properly, but we really would appreciate any and all feedback, and preferably the more stars, the merrier. Seriously, let's get this part started.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another week of Stoned Appetit with your host, as always. You got me boy Kip, and to my right, as always, Bama. Tell everyone you said, hey, Bama.
Hey, everybody.
You struggled with that one.
I know. It's been a long weekend already, and we're only into Saturday. Yeah. But we're up here in the mountains, and it's great.
Yeah, it's dumping snow, and we're excited to be here. Today, we're sitting down with a friend of ours, and I'm going to say that this is a beer snob's delight. So for all of our friends that are craft beer, I guess, drinkers, folks that are in your kind of realm, Chris, we have Mr. John Bruner of Elite
Brands of Colorado.
Elite Brands of Colorado.
Yeah.
Which, John, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for making the trek up to the mountains.
Dude, I mean, for this kind of weather, we got to.
Right? Everybody else is doing it.
Yeah.
And
Follow the crowd.
It's very much, you can tell, because 70 is a fucking parking lot.
Be safe out there, everybody.
Of Denver residents right now. But yeah, so John comes to us. He lives here in Vail. He is all things knowledgeable for craft beer, wine, things of that nature. He's a mover and shaker here in the community, and he's been in Colorado for a hot minute now, but
6 years.
There we go.
A little over 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah, and 6 years with Elite Brands too.
Nice. And you started. So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself. You came out here from Texas,
from North Carolina. University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, go Tar Heels. Not a good year for our basketball squad, but we're still ranked.
Everyone's been it's been turnover at the one spot, so don't feel bad. It's anyone's year.
Long season.
Are you from North Kakalaka?
I'm from Texas originally.
Okay.
College in North Carolina, and then bailed on that state and came out to Denver. Lived there for a few years. Lived in Durango for a few years. Worked in Durango and Telluride and Pagosa Springs. Shout out if anybody's listening from Southwest Colorado.
We have a huge demographic in the Durango Telluride communities.
About a person, maybe two.
No, I mean, the people at the Sheridan Hotel know me very well from previous hotels and vacations in Telluride. So they may be listening.
All right. And then, I've lived up here in Vail for a little over a year and pushing some fine wines, some craft beer, a bunch of import beers. Some spirits, whatever you need.
And I mean, today we're sipping on not only Colorado beers, but also you mentioned you're an importer exporter in the words of Seinfeld. So we're going to definitely dive into the nitty gritty of beers of Colorado, the state of the craft beer. I mean, obviously, North Carolina is the East Coast of,
It
this
is.
scene. So,
Yeah.
So we're going to dive all into that.
Yeah, so hold on, but first of all, like, what made you come out here from North Carolina?
The beer industry.
The beer industry?
Yeah. And so in college, you know, everyone gets a job at a bar to try to make the ends meet. And I had to work with all these people that I thought I could do better than at their job. And so time to leave college, what do? You drive west, I guess. You pack up your car in a U-Haul and drive west.
Yeah.
With no money.
Hey, it sounds like we all kind of had the same mindset.
Everybody, a lot of people here are the same thing, different industries.
So when you moved out here and like moved down to Durango and Telluride, were you like working in kind of the hospitality industry? Or?
I was working doing the same thing I'm doing now for 6 years.
Pushing alcohol on people?
Pushing alcohol on people in ski towns, which is, as far as I'm concerned, the holy grail of employment.
Yeah. I mean, shit, do you take like out your like employees or like, I guess, what would you call them, customers?
Yeah.
Do you like go hit the mountains every now and then, or?
If my owner's listening to this, then
no, you definitely work 12-hour shifts.
Then yeah, but sometimes if it's snowing like it is outside right now on a Tuesday, Tuesday morning, I'm making that phone call and meeting up with somebody I know. Chalk that one off to a relationship building.
Yeah.
It's part of the game though.
It's
a huge part of the
on the
game.
hill.
It's hard to get along with these restaurateurs if you don't know the mountain.
That is a very good point. So you've been, I guess, in Vail for a year. Did you move from T-Ride or, the Southwest area to
Durango,
Vail for work, or did you do it because you wanted to change it up?
Same job, just moving around. I've been at this company and we've just been floating. I'm like their fix-it guy, kind of just show up wherever they need me to. And as long as those places have a lot of snow and good restaurants, good food, then good music especially, then I'll answer that call. I'm still young. I'm relatively floatable, a little liquid over here.
You're not tied down with like a child or a dog or
not
anything.
yet. So while I can, got to get after it.
I like it. Well, before we get into the craft beer scene and we're going to talk about small towns, Colorado, and the best things about living in Vail, we're going to give tips. So if y'all stay with us through the get to know you phase, and we're going to dive deep into the craft brew and I guess the local scene. But let's start with the get to know yous. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the first question we usually like to ask, obviously we did the transplant in the native. You came by way of North Carolina. I think the next question is, what kind of music were you listening to while you were on your way over here? Let's get the nitty-gritty.
Probably a bunch of jam bands. I'd like to see exactly what I listened to on that drive. But I don't think I had Spotify back then. Otherwise, it would have told me already exactly what I listened to on this day and this time.
If you didn't post it on your Spotify's top 10, then, did you even listen?
Yeah. I don't get all that.
I posted mine too.
What were you jamming out to today on your way to the slopes?
Today, I think I listened to some string cheese, some fish. That's probably exactly what I drove out here to. Same thing. Probably some Robert O'Keefe thrown in there.
Yeah.
All right.
Shaking out the Texas roots, but yeah, it probably hasn't changed too much either, You sit in these mountains long enough, you keep listening to string cheese and leftover salmon.
Yeah, you'll start seeing it.
Shout out to Leftover,
yeah.
our boys Andy and Vince and the crew, Drew and everyone. We had them join us on the podcast last week.
Did you? I think Andy Thorne's a Tar Heel, if I'm not mistaken.
Very well, maybe.
I
can't even remember that episode.
Yeah, he is.
You guys did the interview, not me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Duke. His family's Duke, and then he went to UNC.
Yeah,
That's right.
Really pissed
He
him
was a
off.
smart one, yeah.
God, fucking nerds.
Yeah, there you go.
So, how'd you get into North Carolina, you bastard?
Oh, I don't know.
I could barely get into Mississippi State. I don't know how.
I've been draining my brain since I came to Colorado, but apparently I did something right on the way here.
Just nuked it.
Yeah.
So do you get hangovers anymore, or is that possible? If you just work in the booze scene, you're probably pretty.
You still get the hangovers. It's like when you're young. I always say you still got the hangover when you're a kid. When you're 22 years old and you're getting trashed, you still get the hangover. You just get up and think right through it. It doesn't even exist.
Just kind of rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
I think the big difference is
Get a little used to it.
in like older age hangovers is like you just feel just a deep level of shame sometimes.
Definitely.
And like when you were a kid, you didn't. Like when you were like 20,
there was no moral hangover because you didn't have any morals.
yeah, exactly. You just got
nothing
wasted.
wrong
You're
with-
like, oh my god, I just got wasted last night. I feel like shit, but I can get over this. And then now it's like I feel like shit. Did I embarrass myself? Do I call somebody a name?
Right. Drinking another beer as soon as you wake up to get rid of the hangover. I don't do that nearly as much anymore.
I start with wine in the morning. It's nice. It's almost exclusive. I had it on the way up. It was like 9 a.m. I was just pouring myself a glass out of a bag.
At 8:30 a.m. if you're at the Moe vending machine in the Grand Hyatt in Vail.
Oh, and that's a nice seamless plug.
Kip is going to be there pulling a bottle out. $3.75.
Dude.
It's take your pick. You got Rosé and Brut.
Wait, really? That's the rosé over there,
Got
too?
a couple choices.
Well,
I want to see somebody just go to town on that machine.
Break it with an elbow and
Not
just grab some.
Not this clientele. Not this clientele.
Yeah, it's like $75 for a token, and then you put the token in, and they give you a baby bottle of Moet.
Mm-hmm. That'll do your hair for you while you're at it.
All right, so with you, like, getting to know you, kind of when did you fall in love with this kind of beer business? Like,
did it start with your love for Lone Star in Texas in high school?
No, I did drink a lot of Shiner in high school.
Shiner's not bad.
Shiner's great, and a lot of people can hate on mass-produced, beers like that, but
if
Shiner
it's
is
good.
one of the best ones.
Yeah,
and,
Shiner Bock's great.
And there's nothing wrong. It's one of those beers you can drink all day too. So that's the beauty of Shiner Bock.
It's a great football Saturday beer.
Yes, it is. You can go all day. I got into this industry just by talking to people, finding you needed money, got a job at a bar in college, the basic stuff. And, I never wanted to be, a set career guy. I never was the guy that was going to do this. And I'm terrible at school. I don't follow orders very well. I just don't do well in a structured curriculum type environment. And so, you just I was always scheming on ways to do different things to, make a career out of it or something. And then I don't really know how it happened, but here I am and, watching it snow outside talking about my job, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. So
this is a pretty cool job.
Did you have this job like moving out here, or did you get this job when you moved out?
I started at the bottom with my company and stocked stores at the Targets and the Safeways and the big liquor store, the Apple Jacks, the Argonauts of the Denver world. Was in there all the time, throwing beer on the shelf for about a year and a half, and then floated around the sales team in Denver, and then took over Durango, and now up here in Vail. The whole Vail Valley too. Vail's more than just a little ski town on the north end of the valley here.
Wait, so there's more to Vail than just what you see from 70? That's news to me.
No, I mean the Vail Valley in general is a lot bigger. There's a huge population of people that are permanent residents here, and all the way down through Eagle, Colorado, would be where my territory is. So I say Vail, I mean Vail Valley.
Yeah.
Shout out if we got any Eagle listeners.
We do. Shout out to the Quiet Cat team.
Best bike riding around.
Yeah, there you go.
Except
Chase
for
Perry.
In the winter.
Shout out. What's it called? He's now down in Argentina, so if you're listening down for our South American listeners, all three of them,
huge constituents.
Taylor, Chase, and Carly. We do love y'all. We hope y'all are well. But yeah, okay, so we've we've brushed on the booze, but you just want to go dive right into it?
Let's talk booze?
Yeah, let's talk Colorado booze, and then let's talk about the craft beer scene. So,
Oh yeah.
Colorado, the get to know you thing was just kind of
let's go with like what was your view on the Colorado beer scene when you first moved out here? And what's your view today as we sit here?
Wow, it's exploded. And when I first got here, I thought it was, already a completely mature market because compared to other places it was. And Colorado was really just starting to tap this like jet fuel of growth that it started inhaling with craft beer. And yeah, I mean, when I got here, it was the big boys. You got Avery, your Upslopes, your Great Divides. You had those big regional breweries, and they were all in this process of taking on massive amounts of debt, which almost bankrupted half of them.
Yeah.
But 2013, 2014 is really when you saw these regional breweries all across the United States pumping millions of dollars into expansion. And where we're at now is a lot of those companies have actually sold off a majority of their interests.
Shout out to New Belgium.
Yeah, shout out to New Belgium. The Kieran boys bought them up. New Belgium did the same thing. They built a brewery in Nashville. I mean, this is all my opinion too. I don't know the ins and outs of everything.
Hold on. I'm not familiar with New Belgium selling out.
They just went public.
They sold to a Japanese brewer, Kirin Ichiban.
Fuck.
Yeah.
You know that?
No,
Shout out to our boy
3
Buck.
weeks ago, probably.
Yeah.
2.5.
Damn.
I think they're finalizing it maybe now.
That
Maybe
was
it's
like
just
one
done. I don't know.
That was like one of the breweries that I had hopes that would like not.
Employee owned and independent.
Yeah, and like
We have some buddies that are the Rangers in other cities and states. Shout out to
Well,
Buck.
they got paid pretty well. They got a nice boost to their pension. I think it was if you worked with him, you got something like $100,000 added into some type of pension fund. I don't know.
Oh, that's exactly what we read about.
I don't work for J.P. Morgan. I sell beer, so I don't know. I don't want to start talking too much about finance.
Podcast,
but it's like,
yeah.
We're not splitting atoms.
Here we are.
Yeah, we're chatting.
Help on your Roth IRA. Definitely give us a shout.
Yeah.
No, but that's
tell you where not to put it. Just listen to us.
That's wild because like they were always that brewery. Like they were woman owned. They were employee. Like.
Yeah, they've been the stalwart in the industry for employee ownership and the ways to do things. And then, sometimes you got to do what you got to do to survive. And that's where we are in 2019, 2020 here, which is crazy. But where we're at is this with craft beer is that there's a lot of really good beer out there. Competition